our firstborn was Timber Pizza Company. We opened that in 2016. We call it Neapolitan-ish. We're sort of like the ish people, you'll see. And it's wood-fired pizza, sort of a combination of Neapolitan meets New York style. So in a wood-fired oven, but sort of much crispier than your typical Neapolitan place. The design is sort of summer camp in Vermont, it's very, lots of wood, antiques, very funky. And, we just try and do interesting pizzas that are sort of driven by the season. So you won't find like a buffalo chicken pizza, but you'll find a pizza with pea shoot pesto. And, she's the chef. She can talk about the food better than I can. Empanadas on the menu because she's from Argentina. So it's sort of this combination of both of our backgrounds and what we like. That was sort of the dream. We opened that. It went really well. We were in there working every single day. We got sort of put on these Bon Appetit lists that we didn't even know existed. And so we were like, oh my God. And things got busier and, it sort of took on this life of its own, which led us to new opportunities. And, after 2 years of running Timber Pizza, we said, let's draw up this next business. And, I grew up visiting my grandparents in Boca Raton, eating at Jewish delis, loving bagels. I used to eat 3 bagels every Saturday morning, which is probably why I was pretty fat in high school. And so I said, Danny, you want to open a bagel shop? And, she had never even had a bagel before. And so we were calling it a Jew-ish bagel, hence the ish people. And so she got in the lab. She did recipe testing for 9 months. We finally think we nailed the bagel. Again, it's this combination of New York, Montreal. There's honey in the dough. So sort of that sweetness. And then we have interesting flavors, mostly because she's from Argentina and didn't really know what a classic deli was. So we have a za'atar bagel and some interesting things like that. And the design there is very Boca meets Brooklyn is what I call it. Pops of pastels a la Miami Vice, but then in these old funky buildings. And that was, again, sort of like the Timber Pizza. Our dream was just to open a bagel shop. And then that sort of took on a life of its own. Going back to the people first, I promised all these staff members to look at this as a startup and you can truly build a career here. And in order to follow through on that promise, we had to grow to create new opportunities. And so people could move up the ladder and new positions could be created. So we started opening locations and we opened 3 in the first year of the pandemic, all in about a 2-month stretch, which was chaotic. And we still have PTSD from that. And then we opened another one about 6 months ago, and we have 2 more in the pipeline. And who knows, as long as people are eating bagels, we'll keep giving them bagels.
Well, so let's talk about the food a little bit. I'd love to hear a little bit about what it was like to craft these menus that are all kind of ish. It gives you a lot of freedom, right?
Yeah, so like Andrew say, and you can tell he's the talker. I'm the person hiding back in the kitchen executing the food. So like he say is I didn't have any knowledge on the Jewish culture, the food, like the holidays, anything at all. So when he came and say like, hey, let's open a Jewish deli, I say yes. And then I was like, oh no, like what? What did I say yes to something I have zero idea? But it was like, I like challenges and I started like studying and reading. And when you start from scratch like that, there are no rules. So I asked him, it's like, you're going to have to tell me what for sure we have to have in the menu. And then he was like, we can create anything. There's nothing written on a manual that says that you have to have this. So it was a blank slate. And then we got to draw whatever we wanted without previous knowledge. So when you know too much, then it's harder. Even with recipes, it's like anytime you start overthinking something, you end up with 20 ingredients in one recipe. And less is more. Less is more on the pizzas and less is more in the business and in everything. So that's the foundation on how we come up with everything. Andrew says, hey, I love what you love today.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. I'm like, all right, we're going to make the tightest peanut butter sandwich that you have. And because peanut butter and jelly is not a thing in Argentina, in fact, nobody eats peanut butter. They're all looking at him like, who are you? It's like, okay, let me add something to that to make it more exciting. So that's that's how we do it.
Yeah, and for the menu, you know, when I first met Danny, I'm from Washington, D.C., so I would tell her like, oh, let's go to these places, my favorite place from childhood. And then we would go and she'd say, Andrew, this isn't very good. I think this is nostalgia, right? And so part of that was thinking through the menu was, if you do nothing but classics, you're competing against nostalgia, which you'll never win. And so we wanted to play a different game where we were creating new flavors. So you're not competing against, you know, somebody's grandmother where they'll always pick their grandmother's matzo ball soup. So we wanted to create sort of a new path, new flavors. So it's a new experience.
And so let's talk about growth. You guys, you mentioned it a little bit, the growth. It's so exciting. You grew during the pandemic, which for an independent was almost impossible. So can you tell me how you did it? I mean, you not only survived, but you guys thrived. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it was scary, right? Like, obviously, you know, going back to March 2020, I remember we were sitting outside of my mom's and I was just like, well, we had a good run. That was fun. And all this hard work is going to go down the drain. And, you know, early on, we just sort of made this decision that like, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down with our whole staff. So like, we cut our salaries for the first 6 weeks, making sure that all the people who like really needed it could get paid. And we basically said like, we're going to empty the accounts before we let anybody go. And that was just our approach. And I think that's a microcosm of our approach with our staff, and that it's like, the staff is the core of the business, right? Like, if your staff is happy and taken care of, they're going to make great bagels and they're going to treat customers really well. So the business model is make sure our staff is super happy, because then it trickles into everything. And so that's what we did in March of 2020. And, you know, we were actually the first people to go back in when everybody was sort of, we didn't know what this was. And so we were in there making bagels, and I think our staff saw that and they rallied behind us and they said, we want to come to work. And then I think, you know, part of it was luck, right? Like, bagels is comfort food and pizza is comfort food. And so when we reopened our doors, like, we were very busy, and it's sort of this thing that fed off each other. We were off of itself. We were busy, the staff was happy, and it just kept building and building, which led us to be able to open. And, you know, we had staff that was eager to grow into new opportunities. And all of our GMs for the 3 stores we opened last year were all internal promotions. So there's people who knew the brand and loved the brand. And, you know, as I said, is a lot of our staff has been with us for 5 years, and we have told them like, this is going to be like a place where you can build a career. And, you know, we have a guy who started as a baker and he's now our head accountant, right? So it's like, not only is it just like the clear ladder that you can climb to positions above you, it's as you grow, you create positions you didn't even know existed. Marketing, you know, we have a guy who was working front of house who's now our social media and photographer. So, you know, we see those people sort of flourish and grow, and it sort of makes us want to grow and do more to give more opportunities to more people.
Yeah, and some of those opportunities include, you know, mental health classes, teaching English and Spanish classes. Can you tell me a little bit about those? Because that's really interesting. Not perk, but that's a really interesting thing that you offer your employees that a lot of people don't.
I think like when we're thinking about the benefits and what matters to people, is like not all benefits are benefits for everybody. So we are always trying to find things that are actually very valuable for our employees, and we talk to them. We see the needs, like the English Spanish lesson started by, you know, there's a lot of people that can't communicate in English, and we were like, well, let's offer English classes. But then at the same time, the managers, is very important to know Spanish. So we say like, okay, we're also going to offer Spanish classes for the managers, because when I came to the US, I didn't know English, and there is nothing worse not being able to communicate. And, you know, like you say, we're trying to make everybody happy, because if they're happy at work, they're going to thrive and they're going to really care. And if you can't communicate, how are you going to be happy? Like, it's very stressful. Andrew is very stressed right now in Argentina because he can't make jokes. So it's hard.
It's terrible.
So that's one of the things that we saw that it will be very valuable. And then, for example, to give you an example, at the commissary where we make all the bagels, we're lifting bags of 50-pound bags of flour. And we lift like 20 to 30 bags a day, and we put in the delivery. We pick up pails of honey that weigh 60 pounds, and I see them like doing it, and I pull my back in the past. So it's like, it's very important to teach them health. Like, hey, this is how you have to pick up the flour, and then build those like strengths. Like they have to work out to be able to avoid any injuries. So now we have every Friday a coach comes and trains them how to lift the flour, and they build skills. So the benefits that we offer, and like we are always like looking at other stuff, like from classes on how to open a bank account, or how to buy a house, or how to get a loan. We always try to find those type of things that are very valuable to the people.
Yeah, and I think like much like the menu is, we make stuff that we really like, because if we don't like it, we don't want to serve it. It's the same for like the perks. It's like health is wealth. So we want mental health and physical health. And, you know, when we're working out and taking care of our mental health, we're happier and we're better people. So we want that to be, you know, true and accessible for everybody. So that's it at its core. Doing stuff that we like, and hopefully other people like it.
Well, and you guys also offer paternity leave, which is a nice perk to have for, you know, a small business. How are you guys able to manage something like that as a small business?
Yeah, I mean, it's this sort of this chicken or the egg thing, right? Where it's like you offer these perks and hope that you're going to be busy enough, or do you like try and get busy enough and then maybe you can offer them? And we just said, hey, we're going to do all this stuff, and hopefully our stores are busy enough that we can support it. And, you know, again, it goes back to these staff, like, you know, they're creating special moments every single day. They're not just serving bagels to people. They're knowing the regulars. They're, you know, we empower the staff to be able to give away little freebies to make people's day. And so, you know, because of that, I think we're busy enough to then support these things. So, you know, it's a huge thanks to the neighborhoods that have supported us to allow us to then take care of our staff. And then I think they hear that we're taking care of our staff, so they want to support us even more. So again, it's just like this wheel that feeds off of itself.
And the community's been supportive of you guys?
Oh, hugely. They rally behind us all the time. And, you know, we try and really, you know, we have a director of community whose sole job is making relationships in those neighborhoods of the stores. And that's for the nonprofits in those neighborhoods, and, you know, just little things we can do. Can we support a block fair? Can we give food to a nonprofit in the neighborhood? So we really try and, you know, roll our sleeves up and actually touch the neighborhoods that we're in.
And so, you know, you talked about that you have 2 stores in the works. What's up next for you guys, other than getting married?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's like we're always looking for the next challenge. First it was pizza, then it was bagels. And I think now we want to see, like, can we grow a big business? And so I think there's going to be more Call Your Mothers after these 2. You know, my main job is sort of being on the hunt, looking for new locations. You know, at some point we're going to leave the DC area. So we're starting to have those conversations. What city makes sense to sort of grow? And I think there's also some room for some more shops in DC. So we're looking to grow. We're getting the staff excited for new opportunities, and we're gonna, you know, if the moon wants bagels, we'll take bagels to the moon, hopefully one day.
Well, thank you guys so much for speaking with me. Congratulations on the wedding. Congratulations on the Power List. I enjoyed speaking with you. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you, Holly. The pleasure is all ours. Mucho gusto. Hasta pronto.
Great Spanish.
Yeah.